Welcome to DnD Builds, where we have an outlet to make all sorts of ridiculous Dungeons & Dragons characters and stop driving the people in our lives insane with them. Today I want to dive into another character from Smash, but he's been a mainstay in all of Nintendo, Mega Man. He's a classic Capcom character. He's a robot boy with a blaster on his arm who shoots lemons, and if you understand that reference, let me know in the comments down below. Mega Man has a lot of abilities that he acquires from his enemies, so we're going to try and get a pretty broad spectrum here, but we need to focus on some of the core things that make Mega Man first. So let's go ahead and decide on the race before anything else. He is essentially just a robot boy, and if you want to build a robot in D&D, chances are you're going to go with a Warforged. When you choose Warforged as a race, you get constructed resilience. So you don't need to eat, drink, or breathe, you're immune to disease, and you don't need sleep, and magic can't put you to sleep. Then one of the last big features you get from being a Warforged is integrated protection. So your body has a built-in defensive layer. So you gain +1 bonus to your armor class, and any armor that you're proficient with can be integrated directly into your body, which feels very true for Mega Man. There's one more feature of being a Warforged, and that's specialized design, granting you 1 skill and 1 tool proficiency. So for the skill, let's go ahead and grab athletics. You do plenty of jumping around, and for a tool, we'll just grab Tinkerer's tools. Then when it comes to a background, in the original story of Mega Man was named Rock, and he was created as a lab assistant for Dr. Light. It wasn't until after Dr. Wily became all evil and stuff that he volunteered to become more of a fighting robot. So because he used to be a lab assistant, and most lab assistants, at least in the real world, tend to be students, we're going to choose the background Quandrix student, because Quandrix students happen to be a bit more focused in mathematics, and that feels closer to more robotics engineering, so I'm just going to go with it. This gives us skill proficiencies in Arcana and Nature, and it expands any spell list we get access to, but we'll save all spells for the end of this build. Then when it comes to some starting stats, we're going to focus on one type of physical stat, and since generally dexterity is a little more beneficial, we're going to wind up dumping our strength and boosting our dexterity up to 14. Then we're going to take our constitution, also bring it to 14 so we have a fair amount of health, which also gets another +2 from being a Warforged, bringing it to 16. Then we are a robot. We need to be able to upgrade our robot body and do all sorts of high-tech stuff, and that's going to be high intelligence. So we're going to go ahead and max out our intelligence, bringing it to 15, and then we get another +1 from our racial bonus that we get to put wherever we want, bringing it to 16. Then we have a few points left over, so let's go ahead and throw it into wisdom, because that'll make you more aware of your surroundings, and that leaves us with no points left over, so we gotta dump charisma down to 8. Then when it comes to a starting class, it should be absolutely no surprise, especially if you've seen my Iron Man build or Samus from Metroid, that we gotta go with an Artificer. This is a high-tech build. We need to be able to do that high-tech stuff, and Artificers are made for that. They're all about making or upgrading magic items. When you choose to be an Artificer at first level, you get access to light armor, medium armor, and shields, and you get access to simple weapons. Additionally, you get access to Thieves' Tools, Tinkerer's Tools, and another type of Artisan Tools, whatever you want, and you get saving throws and Constitution and Intelligence. Then you get to choose 2 skills. We're going to take Perception because that's great for any campaign, and then Investigation to capitalize on our intelligence. There's also an optional rule when you choose to be an Artificer, and that's firearm proficiency. Firearms aren't allowed at every single table in D&D, so you have to ask your dungeon master about it, but you usually need proficiency in order to be able to use them. And Artificers are one class that gets that right off the bat. The first feature you get when you become an Artificer is magical tinkering. So now you can do some vague magical stuff with random objects. Making an object shed some light, recording a message, emitting an odor or a non-verbal sound, or creating a static visual effect. Additionally, you get some spell casting. And the unique thing about spellcasting as an Artificer is that you can channel your Artificer spells through your tools instead of arcane focuses or anything like that. So if you got a wrench, you can cast a spell through it. Then when you hit 2nd level of Artificer, you get Infuse Item. There's a whole bunch of magical items that Artificers can make, and it's a pretty long list. You can pick 4 Artificer infusions to learn at 2nd level, and you can infuse 2 items at a time. But since there's going to be a lot of infusions to get through, we'll save most of those for the end of this build along with the spells. Then at 3rd level of Artificer, you get Artificer Specialist, and this is essentially a subclass. And the weird thing about Mega Man is that he is actually pretty good at fitting into 3 out of the 4 subclasses you have as an artificer. The only one he doesn't really work for is an alchemist, because that's more about mixing potions and brewing stuff. But he does upgrade his body and his armor pretty regularly, so armor could work great. Battlesmith works because it's about creating something that helps you in battle, and you have that robot dog thing which you call in pretty regularly, so I think that would definitely work. But I can't ignore the blaster. It's his main thing. You get it right at the beginning of the game, you upgrade it throughout, and sure, you can upgrade your armor as well, but the blaster is the main thing, and I cannot ignore that. So we're gonna choose Artillerist. When you choose Artillerist as your subclass, you gain proficiency with Woodcarver's tools and one other artisan tool of your choice. You get a handful of Artillerist spells, which again, we're going to cover at the end of this build, and you get an Eldritch Cannon. So early on, we get to replace that blaster. You get to use your intelligence modifier for everything related to the Eldritch Cannon, and the Eldritch Cannon itself can be a small or tiny object. If it's small, you can set it up like a turret. The cannon itself has an armor class of 18 and a number of hit points equal to 5 times your artificer level, while also being immune to poison and psychic damage, because that just makes sense. And if it does get damaged, you can cast the mending spell on it and it regains 2d6 hit points. But more importantly, if you make the Eldritch Cannon tiny, you can hold it in your hand, or it can essentially be your hand, considering that's the whole idea we're going for. The Eldritch Cannon can take 3 forms. Well, 2 of the forms are going to be pretty dependent on what bosses you kill in which order in the Mega Man games, because they always grant you additional abilities, like you can make your Eldritch Cannon a flamethrower, blasting out fire in a 15-foot cone, and each creature must make a dexterity saving throw against your spell save DC, otherwise taking 2d8 fire damage, or half as much if they succeed on that save. Or if you need some additional protection, you can turn your Eldritch Cannon into a Protector Cannon, so it emits a burst of positive energy that grants itself and each creature of your choice within 10 feet of it a number of temporary hit points equal to 1d8 plus your intelligence modifier. But most of the time, we're going to be shooting lemons, or doing massive blasts using the cannon form Force Ballista. I think of this as the default form of Mega Man's blaster, and this allows you to make a ranged spell attack and shoot a target up to 120 feet away. On a hit, that target takes 2d8 force damage and can be pushed up to 5 feet away from you. But there's one thing I didn't really mention about this Eldritch Cannon that makes it way better, and that's the Eldritch Cannon can be activated as your bonus action. So you can use your normal action for all sorts of stuff, mostly spells, while still making sure to utilize your cannon as your bonus action on every single turn. Then at 3rd level of Artificer, you get right tool for the job, so you can pretty much always have an artisan tool in hand. Then at 4th level of Artificer, you get an ability score improvement, and since most things we have are going to rely on intelligence, we'll go ahead and boost that up by 2 points. Then at 5th level of Artificer, you get another feature from being an artillerist, Arcane Firearm, which we can think of as an upgrade to your blaster. You can turn any sort of arcane focus, like a wand or a staff or any rod, into your arcane firearm. And whenever you cast any artificer spell through the firearm, you can roll a d8. And you gain a bonus to one of the spell's damage rolls equal to that number, which is just a nice consistent boost to your damage output. Also at 5th level, you get access to 2nd level spell slots. Then at 6th level of Artificer, you get Tool Expertise. So now your proficiency bonus is doubled for any ability check that you make using a tool that you are proficient with. Additionally, at 6th level, you get to learn 2 more infusion, and you can infuse 1 more item at a time. Then at 7th level of Artificer, you get Flash of Genius. So when you or another creature you can see within 30 feet of you make an ability check or saving throw, you can use your reaction to add your intelligence modifier to the roll, but you can only use this feature a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier and regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Then at 8th level of Artificer, you get another ability score improvement, so we're going to go ahead and max out our intelligence. And then at 9th level of Artificer, you get another feature from being an artillerist, Explosive Cannon. So the cannon's damage rolls increase by 1d8, and as an action, you can command the cannon to detonate. It destroys the cannon and forces any creature within 20 feet of it to make a dexterity saving throw or take 3d8 force damage, but half as much if they succeed on that saving throw. I wouldn't use this if you happen to have it attached to your arm at the time, but if you're setting it up as a sentry bot, it's pretty useful to have. And just so you know, it only takes an action to recreate that Eldritch Cannon, so you can kind of do this repeatedly. Additionally, at 9th level, you get access to 3rd level spell slots. Then at 10th level of Artificer, you get Magic Item Adept. So now, while everybody else can attune to 3 magic items at most, you can attune to 4. And if you create a magic item with a rarity of common or uncommon, it takes a quarter of the normal time to create it, while also costing you half as much. And finally, at 10th level of Artificer, you get to learn 2 more infusions, and you can infuse 1 more item at a time. Then at 11th level of Artificer, you get spell storing item. So whenever you finish a long rest, you can touch 1 simple or martial weapon, or 1 item that you can use as a spell casting focus. You can store a spell in it. It has to be a 1st or 2nd level spell from the Artificer spell list that requires 1 action to cast. While holding the object, a creature can take an action to produce the spell's effects from it, using your spellcasting modifier. But if the spell requires concentration, that creature must concentrate on. Then at 12th level of Artificer, you get another ability score improvement. So we'll go ahead and boost our Constitution by 2 points, because that's going to help any concentration checks that we have, as well as our overall health pool. And if we're using medium armor, we don't really need anything more than a 14 in our dexterity. Then at 13th level of Artificer, you get access to 4th level spell slots. And then at 14th level of Artificer, you get Magic Item Savant. So now you can attune to up to 5 magic items at once, while everybody else is stuck with just 3, and you can ignore all class, race, spell, and level requirements on attuning to magic items, because there's plenty of awesome items that are only allowed for wizards or sorcerers, whatever. Additionally, at 14th level, you can learn 2 more infusions, and you can infuse 1 more item at a time. Then at 15th level of Artificer, you get another feature from being an artillerist, Fortified Position. So you and your allies have half cover while within 10 feet of your cannon. And if you have that cannon attached to your arm, you just always have half cover, because it creates a shimmering field of magical protection. And if you don't know how half cover works, it grants you a straightforward +2 to your armor class and your dexterity saving throws, as if you're partially hiding behind a short wall or piece of furniture or something. The other benefit of Fortified Position is that you can now have 2 cannons at the same time, and you can create 2 cannons with the same action. Not only that, you can activate both of them with the same bonus action. So you can have 2 Force Ballistas, or a Force Ballista and a Flamethrower, or a Protector, or mix and match however you like. Personally, I'd just take 2 Force Ballistas like you're shooting super rapid fire, because now you'll be able to shoot twice as your bonus action and still have an action free for plenty of spell casting. Then at 16th level of Artificer, you get another ability score improvement. So we're going to go ahead and max out our Constitution, boosting our health and our concentration checks. Then at 17th level of Artificer, you get access to 5th level spell slots, which is the highest level spell slots that Artificers can learn. And then at 18th level of Artificer, you get Magic Item Master. So now, while everybody else is stuck being attuned to at most 3 magic items, you can now attune to up to 6 magic items. Also at 18th level, you get to learn 2 more infusions, and you can infuse 1 more item at a time. Then at 19th level of Artificer, you get another ability score improvement, and we have all the stats we really need, so might as well go ahead and grab a feat. And I want to boost up our health as much as possible, so we're going to take the feat Tough, giving us an extra 2 hit points per level of this overall build. Then at 20th level of Artificer, and last level of this build, you get Soul of Artifice. So now you develop this sort of mystical connection with your magic items, which makes sense because they're all attached to your body if you're a Mega Man. You gain +1 bonus to all saving throws per magic item you are currently attuned to, which means you can have a +6 to every saving throw, which is absolutely nuts. And if you fail a saving throw at that point, I don't even know what to tell you, because between Soul of Artifice and Flash of Genius, you have a default +11 to any saving throw you need to make. And if you happen to be proficient in it, you can add your proficiency bonus, not to mention your actual ability modifier that you already get to add anyways. So basically, the only way you're going to fail a saving throw is if you roll a nat 1. Then the other benefit from Soul of Artifice is that if you're reduced to 0 hit points but not killed outright, you can use a reaction to end one of your Artificer infusions, causing you to drop to 1 hit point instead. So it's like getting hit really hard and basically sacrificing an item to not die. But now that we've covered the overall build, it's time to jump into those infusions and then those spells. You can learn up to 12 infusions, but we're only going to focus on the ones you're going to use the most. And you can infuse up to 6 items at a time, so this should cover most of what we need. We're definitely going to grab an enhanced arcane focus. Unfortunately, we can't apply this to our Eldritch Cannon, but we can apply it to any spellcasting focus that we have, which will turn into our arcane firearm. An enhanced arcane focus applies a +1 bonus to our spell attack rolls, and that bonus increases to a +2 when you hit 10th level in Artificer. You want to get another basic item with enhanced defense, so you get a +1 bonus to your armor class, which also upgrades to a +2 when you hit 10th level in Artificer. Even though we didn't go with the Battlesmith subclass, I still want to make sure we get Rush, Mega Man's pet dog, so we're going to grab the infusion Homunculus Servant. This will allow you to make a tiny construct that can help you out in a few various ways, but it can also make attacks with its ability Force Strike, or you can use it to cast any touch ranged spell through it instead of having to touch the enemy yourself. Then I thought about how Mega Man's blaster kind of replaces his hand, so I wanted to grab the infusion Arcane Propulsion Armor. This makes it so your walking speed increases by 5 feet, your basic punches can actually deal 1d8 force damage, and the gauntlets as part of your armor can actually be thrown. But in this case, you can use it as more of a projectile, but you can think of it as shooting those drills out or whatever else might work based off of whatever Mega Man game you're playing. It even notes that this armor can't be removed against the wearer's will, and if the wearer is missing any limbs, the armor replaces those limbs, such as hands or feet. Then for the last two, we're going to replicate some magical items. You can replicate any common magic item, or you can choose from a list. And from that list, I gotta grab Ring of Protection. I know it's a little boring, but it gives us another +1 bonus to our armor class. So now our armor class is 17 if we're using medium armor and wearing half plate. We get another +2 from our enhanced defense, bringing it to 19, +1 from our Ring of Protection, bringing it to 20. We get one more +1 just from being a Warforged, bringing it to 21. Then you can't forget about the half cover you're always going to have just from being an artillerist and having that cannon strapped to your arm, giving you another +2, bringing your armor class up to 23. And then you can wield the shield on top of it if you really feel like, but frankly you should be pretty well covered with a 23 in armor class. The shield is just going to bring you up to 25. And then if you really feel like you're in the weeds, you will always have access to the spell Shield, giving you another +5, which would bring you up to 30 armor class, which is just frankly absurd. And then for the last infusion that you can regularly use, I was super tempted to grab the Ring of Jumping, just because of how much that feels like it fits Mega Man. But frankly, in D&D, jumping isn't quite as useful as flight. So I would replace that with the Winged Boots, giving you a decent amount of flying speed every day. There are plenty of other great infusions to grab, which I will include on the character sheet over on Patreon, but I wanted to make sure to just focus on the ones that seem especially relevant, because I didn't want to waste any more time in jumping into the spells. Between our intelligence and the levels that we have in Artificer, we can have 4 cantrips and 15 prepared spells. Plus, we get a handful of spells from being an artillerist for free. The first cantrip I would grab is Firebolt, so you have some way to use your blaster before even grabbing your Eldritch Cannon. Pick up Mending, so you can fix yourself a bit whenever you need to. Then I would grab Shocking Grasp, because you need some sort of grab attack, and you need a little bit of electrical ability. And then finally, if you happen to be surrounded and you need to attack everybody all around you for more strategic purposes, I would grab Thunderclap. Then when it comes to first level spells, in case you need that shield from Leaf Man, you automatically get the spell Shield. But that's not all you get for free from being an artillerist. You also get Thunder Wave. I was going to follow that up with Featherfall because Mega Man doesn't really ever seem to take fall damage, but you already have the Winged Boots, so I'm not going to worry about that. I would grab Absorb Elements because I feel like that fits depending on what abilities you get from which Mega Man game. Then once you get some second level spell slots, you automatically get Scorching Ray and Shatter, which are pretty awesome offensive spells. But one spell I would definitely grab for myself is Heat Metal. Frankly, it's one of my favorite spells to play around with in D&D, because anytime you go up against any enemy that's wielding a metal weapon or wearing metal armor, it basically wins the fight for you. When it comes to third level spells, you automatically get one of the best offensive spells in D&D, Fireball, which frankly it's just always fun to have that. Then you also get Wind Wall for a bit more defense. I would grab Haste as far as another third level spell, but you're more of a magic caster being Mega Man and wanting to do plenty of blasting. And haste doesn't allow you to cast another spell, unfortunately. It only guarantees you an extra action that you can make weapon attacks with. So instead, I think the other fitting option is actually protection from energy. This will give you resistance to a type of elemental damage, and I feel like that fits because once you beat one boss in Mega Man, you're granted its power. So having resistance to that type of power is just something that kind of makes sense. Then when it comes to 4th level spells, you automatically get Ice Storm and Wall of Fire. But there's one spell I would definitely follow it up with, and that's Summon Construct. Because just in case you don't want to use your infusion to summon Rush, now you have a spell to do it for you. Then when it comes to 5th level spells, which is the highest level spell slot you have access to, being an Artificer, you automatically get Cone of Cold, which is a great offensive spell. And you also get one of the best defensive spells in D&D, Wall of Force. So now you already have plenty of blasting, you have plenty of defensive capabilities, and you actually have a ton more spells available. But this video is already getting long enough, so I will include all of those spells over on my Patreon, where I have the full spell list and character sheet for all of my builds. If you want access to that, feel free to check out my Patreon, linked in the description down below, just like all of these incredible people have access to. And the especially awesome player character level patrons, Andrew Nobles, Alex, Melendez Robinson, Carcat Kitsune, Z13, Yaksha Senpai, the Dino 21, and Benjamin. Then going above and beyond even them is my Dungeon Master level patrons that I actually play D&D with, which I stream over on Twitch and then post the VODs up here on YouTube. Daniel Sweeten, Conman ZX, Nathaniel Sims, Cyberciety, Talon Starkey, Demiurge, Braden Aldridge, Daniel Galvin, Michael, Eric Wade, Salvador, Kilo, and Heyo. Then going above anything I could possibly imagine is my God tier level patron. I cannot thank this guy enough. He goes above and beyond anything I would ever expect, and that's Game Steak. And finally, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, let me know by hitting that like button. And I'll be here helping you roll at least 3 nat 20s in your next D&D session, especially if you want to play as Mega Man in Dungeons & Dragons.